welcome to a new episode of The Ramp. Today we are super excited because we have Eilin Gillesen with us. Eilin is the Chief People Officer at Simployer, Chief People and Culture Officer.
Exactly.
Yes, at Simployer. Really happy to have you on The Ramp.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Let's jump to it because today we have a lot on the agenda. So we will be talking about employee engagement. And I think let's start with the basics. How would you define employee engagement?
Yeah, I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
What's the definition of engagement? And there really isn't, if you Google it, you won't get a clear answer. But I would definitely say that it's when you have a strong emotional connection to yourself, to your work, to your colleagues, but also to the company. And we can also see some, clear traits as well. So what does an engaged employee look like? And it's usually those that, raise up their hands and say, I got it, or can I try it? And maybe more often have growth mindset than fixed mindset. And they just grow along with the company. So that's at least what we see typically.
How would you separate it from, say, satisfaction? Like engagements and satisfaction?
Yeah, that's a very good question because people have a tendency to think that it's the same thing. So satisfaction, I can be content going to work, but it doesn't mean that I find a stronger sense of purpose. And that's what we need in order to go to work and really have that internal motivation.
Yeah.
So there for sure is a difference between being satisfied and being engaged at work and thrive.
Do you think it's like a personality trait as well? You mentioned growth mindset. Will the same type of people have or engage people where they have I don't know, stronger probability of being engaged across different employers in a way because they have a growth mindset, or does that vary?
I think many have a tendency to think of engaged people as those being, extroverted. And that is not the case. You can be introverted and engaged. You're just engaged in a different way. So yes, I do think there are some traits, growth mindset being one of them. But I just think it's so important not to mix the two, so that you exclude those that are introverted.
Yeah.
They're not engaged. Yeah.
And in terms of engagement, of course, it's nice to have proactive people that take initiative. But why is it important for a business? Like, what's the business impact?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of research supporting that. Gartner is one where they've shown that having engaged employees will increase your productivity, efficiency, innovation as well. So you should be able to see it in your numbers, actually. So the more engaged we are, the more we produce, the more we innovate, the stronger we collaborate. You could say that we are able to, get the full potential out of each other when we are more engaged as well.
But how do you measure it? Is it only self-description in these surveys? How do you go about measuring it?
Well, I think surveys is obviously one way of measuring it, and we're doing that in Simployer. We're using pulse surveys, which is really nice because then you get, some actual numbers as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the key challenges for us in HR that, we've usually gone with our gut feeling maybe. We need to be more data-driven as well. So that's a good way of doing it. Then you'll also have like feedback loops, one-on-ones, which is also really important to have that human connection as well. So, but I think it's been I've been in this area for over 20 years and it's the most impactful tool that I've seen for leaders to drive engagement and have the team building and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The disclaimer is probably also that Simployer is an HR tool in a way.
It is. It is an offering. It definitely is. But I've previously I worked with having like a yearly or every other year.
Yeah.
And usually when you get the data or the results, it's usually a month or two after. Yeah. So it's been quite a pleasure to see the impact, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions also with like engagement tool like ours, because we have a tendency to say that it's an HR tool.
Yeah.
I would strongly argue that this is really the best leadership tool, because in order to drive engagement, the fundamentals is strong leaders. So if you want to, to focus on well-being, collaboration, and alignment, and so forth, then having like pulse surveys is a great way of bringing up the conversation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teams, they have a tendency to focus on the operations, the tasks at the hand, not necessarily talking about us and our relations and ways of working and collaboration and so forth. And that we need to do more of, because it's driving engagement.
Yeah. No, that's it's a very, very valid point. And I think especially when you mention these sort of, I don't know, bi-yearly or yearly surveys, especially on the satisfaction and also engagement, usually you're taking action maybe too late. It's like too late for you to take action. Yeah. But the pulse surveys that you run, how often? Is it weekly, monthly?
Yeah. Well, we've tried different things. We've done it quarterly, and now we're doing it monthly. So at the end of the year, we run a survey to ask our colleagues to give feedback on the engagement tool or the pulse surveys. And we asked them, do we do it too often? Yeah. Because a lot of people, my HR colleagues out there react, wow, once a month, that's too often. Yeah. But that's what my colleagues want. Yeah. And I'm really happy about it, because then we really have the opportunity to react faster than we did when we did it quarterly. So we actually do it once a month. It's only 7 questions, so it doesn't take a lot of time. Yeah. And what we also encourage our leaders is, it's not about necessarily going through each, answer and result, but it's having the dialogue with your team to say, okay, so what is it important that we talk about this time? What is it, and not only to focus on what's not working, but also, praise what's working and why is it working, and be curious about that as well. So that's how often we do it.
Could you share a bit on how it's designed? What are those 7 questions? Is it related to work or benefits, or is it more on like pure engagement?
It's towards engagement. Yeah. So there are 7 drivers that we have identified as key for engagement. It's leadership, well-being, pride, recognition, collaboration, growth, and did I say alignment? Yeah. So those are the 7 drivers, and in order for 6 of them to work, we need really good and strong leadership. And I think you know this, Tor, that people are leaving companies most often due to bad leadership. Yes. Yeah, and leadership is the key to driving engagement. At the same time, it's our common responsibility as employees and then leaders. It's not only leaders who are responsible for driving engagement. Yeah. So you need to take some responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. I think that's a journey we've been on as well. And like, how do you balance employee well-being and engagement? Who owns that? Is it the employee? Is it the people team? Is it the leader? And I think it's a shared responsibility, but the person needs to be very open. And essentially, it's sort of that person that needs to communicate about their situation. Yeah. But we need to facilitate for great employee experiences. And I think,
But if I can add to that, I think I totally agree that you need to have the openness and the dialogue, but that won't happen if you have the psychological trust, right?
100%.
So that is, an important success for leaders as well when driving teams and performance and so forth. So that's not something that will just happen because you have a pulse survey, for example. Yeah. So you need to continuously build that trust over time, so that people will open more easily.
And I want a bit of a deep dive into that, the psychological safety, because I think that's essential and key in the engagement surveys or the pulse surveys.
Yep.
Do you have any examples of things you've found there where you've needed to take action on a company level? Because, of course, one specific employee might not be happy with their direct leader. But if you see like symptomatic problems or structural problems, then you need to obviously take action. So any things you can share there?
Oh yes, we use this very actively. So we've responded on quite a few issues. So when we first started with the pulse survey, we got a lot of feedback that our company strategy was too complex.
Yeah.
People really didn't understand the direction of the company. There were a lot of details. And we took that feedback and we went back to the company strategy and we were like, yeah, we see that point. So we revised the strategy, made it a lot easier, less complex.
Did you revise the strategy or just sort of simplify the messaging?
We simplified it. It was a lot more clearer on where is our direction. And then we had on-site events. So we went around and got feedback before we finalized the strategy.
Yeah.
So our colleagues could give input to the strategy. We revised it and then we implemented it. So it was a joint effort. So obviously the leadership team, it made the framework, but it was possible to get the input. So that was very important for us, and it made it a lot easier for everyone to understand where is employer going. And then we continuously revise it as needed, more on the details, not the direction, but on the details.
Yeah.
And then another time Simployer is in a transformative company.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of changes as well. And we've continued our focus and efforts on investing in our leaders. And that has been really, really important to ensure that they have the right tools so that we can manage the change as good as we can. So our employees have scored our leaders very high. So we have an average of 88 through all these large changes. And then the last example is on well-being, because it had a drop due to all the changes. So then we made an initiative on that as well. What happens to me during change, and how can I be a good colleague during change? And we've had train your brain as well with mindfulness and so forth. So we've done different initiatives based on the feedback that we get from our colleagues.
Any learnings there? What has had very good effect for the company that they really appreciated?
Yeah, I think, again, if we go back to being more data-driven, the big shift in HR has been, going from your gut feeling, I heard him or they say this and that, and therefore we may, initiate an initiative. Now we are able to have more targeted initiatives.
Yeah.
So, and we can quickly see, next month, does it have an effect or not? Yeah.
But any specific initiatives like the mindfulness, for example? Did you say that? Okay. That worked
actually, we ran a survey last week to get feedback on us in HR and our ways of working, and are we contributing to the business? And then there were a lot of comments saying that were missing those well-being initiatives.
Yeah. Okay.
So they want more of it.
Good.
So then we're like, okay. Yeah. So that's the beauty of it, that you have those open comments, and we always encourage everyone to give their written feedback, because it gives more context to what they answered on the.
Because a lot of companies now are launching different benefits and a well-being program, which is fantastic. Could there be a drawback of that? That you're creating too much expectations, the more put forward towards the employees, then the more the bar just sort of continues to rise.
Yeah.
Have you seen any challenges there?
Yeah, I also see that there's a lot more, in media about it as well. What has an effect and what doesn't. Does a nice canteen? Is that, will that drive engagement and so forth? And I continuously come back to, in order to drive engagement and satisfaction and all that, you need strong leaders. You need to enable the leaders so that they can, make sure that that people are happy and engaged, and that they grow and develop, and that you build the psychological safety within the team as well.
Yeah, I think as companies grow, you get more leaders on board. You have different teams. And then you establish a manager handbook or a leader handbook. I think what I found to be a bit challenging is creating those sort of leadership principles without like giving clear instructions on how a leader should be. Because it's very individual in a way. I won't lead in the same way as another leader in this organization. So I think we've tried and failed a bit where it got too like instruction based, which is inauthentic leadership is probably the worst thing in the world. So I think I think we're at the better stage now where we give flexibility, but we're agreeing on some common principles. How do you approach that? How do you?
No, I think that's a very valid point. I mean, we are individuals, and leadership, comes in different forms. So you need to find your own authentic ways of being a leader. But you also need to have that situational leadership as well, right? So that you accommodate also your ways of leading to the needs of whoever you're in the room with. So in Simployer, we are very, what is leadership? It's not something who we are. It's something we produce together. And we say that we produce leadership when we give direction, alignment, commitment. And then, how do we do that? So we've been, given some tags saying, okay, so in order to drive direction, you need to be clear on purpose. You need to reason, what is the why? So just a few tips and tricks on how to drive direction, alignment, commitment. But actually, next week, we are going to revise expectations to employees and us as managers as well. 4 bullet points. It needs to be aligned with direction, alignment, commitment, because that's what we say leadership is all about in Simployer. So I'm quite excited to that. So it's a very, we need to have the buy-in. Our leaders need to feel that, these are principles I can live by. We want to challenge each other as well. But again, if we are to succeed with our ambitions, with our strategy and so forth, we also need to ensure that the way we lead, it's about creating direction, alignment, commitment. And how do we do that? And how can I, if you were my, leadership colleague, how can I hold you accountable? If we say that, we need a strong purpose, for example, and I'm in a meeting with you and maybe I'm shadowing you in a team meeting, then I can, give you the feedback. Okay, so what I felt most missing was a sense of purpose, for example. So I think we need to have that common, that feedback culture, holding each other accountable, also in our ways of leading.
I like that. On the engagement topic, we mentioned that it's good for business. Have you seen any links there between retention and engagement in your company?
Well, we have our retention or our turnover has decreased quite a lot since the pandemic. And we also see with our engagement, it's, like I said, we've been through some very large changes, but we maintained the engagement. So our score has been around 80, and everything above 70 is considered really good. And we know that what we see is that, if our people are engaged, if they're happy when they go to work, if they feel that they grow, can we have better ambassadors than our own employees? And we encourage them to use LinkedIn. We know their, word of mouth matters a lot. Great people attract great people. It's that simple. And we use every, chance that we get to to communicate, whether it be on social medias or we have a lot of webinars as well. I love talking good about all our employees and so forth. So our employees are the best ambassadors, but they're not going to talk well about Simployer if they're not in a good place.
You mentioned several times you've been through quite substantial changes. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. So I've been in the company for 3.5 years. And there's been we got a new CEO half year late after myself. So there's been some changes in the top management team. And as always, when you have new people in the top, there are some changes. We see things with a different perspective. Continuously have that discussion. Okay, what is it? What do we need to do in order to reach our goals and ambitions? So the first thing we did was actually going from a country-based organization to functional-based organization. So we did that almost 2 years ago. So we are a company that, at that time, we were about 350 employees. We're spread in Norway, Sweden, and in Poland. And we saw, I think most companies, struggle with this, having a very siloed organization. And we strongly believe that, okay, so this is being too siloed. They're not really collaborating, ways of working. There's sub-optimizing of our processes. And if we go from country-based to functional-based, you are also forced to collaborating more. So that was a big bang. I'm not really a fan of big bangs in general, because I think it's better to have trial and error and adjust as we go along, having more that agile take on it. But it was necessary, and people were very happy with that. People, want to work more across countries and they want to collaborate, and a lot of people saw an opportunity also to unleash the full potential in themselves, but also maybe work with other types of customers and so forth.
Were they positive prior to the change or post change?
That's a good question, actually. Were they happy before or after? I think it was such a big bang. So at first it was a shock for some at least. But it only took like a couple of months. We did this in April. When we went into the summer vacation, people had settled down and they were like, okay, now I understand who's my new, because there were a lot of changes, with the management structure and so forth. And a lot of people had to report to new managers. And so I think that was the biggest uncertainty, right? Oh no, this has been my leader for so many years. Now I have to rebuild trust with someone else and all that. But I think one of the key wins or successes was that we had done a lot of prepping for our leaders.
Yeah.
What kind of conversations should you have? How can you have those conversations? What is your toolbox? So we invested a lot in them. What is change?
Seems like the people team has worked like crazy to make it make it a good change.
Yeah. And we do that every time. Every time we are to do like a bigger change, then we spend a lot of time prepping our leaders. They also need to process it. It's not only a change for our employees. Yeah. It's a change for themselves. So they also need to get onboarded to the change and where am I in all this? And then at the same time handle whatever is coming with their teams.
What's the CEO's role in that change? How do you work with him together?
Yeah, Viglek is our CEO. We work very close together, and he's really, really good at explaining the why. So he's really, our captain for this journey, and he's really good at communicating, ensuring that people understand the reasoning for this, and we do spend a lot of time on reasoning on the why. That's one of the things that we've gotten feedback on. We've asked for feedback for us as top management as well, and we got the feedback that we are good at explaining the why, but we can go even into more details.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've improved for each time. So I think he is the captain of this journey, and he's really good at being that captain and communicating well, and also we've taken some really hard tough decisions. But I hope at least that even though it's been necessary, it's been tough decisions, we've seen people go, I hope that people at least feel that we are doing it with passion or compassion, empathy, so that people feel that they've been fairly treated in the process.
Yeah, isn't your answer there in the engagement survey that you actually succeeded?
Yeah, I'm very happy of it. I was, before each change, I feel, I have a lot of emotions. I'm an emotional kind of person as well. So and being the company that we are an HR tech and expertise company. I am responsible for HR as well, or people and culture that we call it. And I feel a lot of weight on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Everyone is looking at Simployer. We are very known, especially here in Norway. So we need to make sure that we do it as, we want to be best in class.
Yeah.
Yeah. We raised the bar quite high.
Yeah.
But it has an effect.
Yeah.
So, and we can see that through our engagement scores on, the how our leaders feel going into these changes, in the sense that they are prepared. I mean, there's a lot of planning and preparations.
In terms of the changes, if we go a bit sort of specific on the changes, you've gone through organizational redesign, you've been through acquisition process of Alexis HR, you've also changed your tech stack and product quite substantially. So obviously all of those changes create noise, right? And tough decisions are being made. So could you let us a bit under the hood there to understand your role in that and how it was to drive that change?
Yeah. It didn't only drive noise, but uncertainties, a lot of uncertainties, right? So in March in 2024, we made the decision to acquire Alexis HR, which is an HR tech platform. So when doing that, we changed our whole tech stack, which we firmly believe was the right decision to do, even though it was a very tough decision, in many ways emotional as well, due to the fact that the tech stack we had been with us for many years. A lot of people have invested their soul into building that product, right? So and I think and then we announced internally that okay, we bought Alexis HR. This is our direction. These are the implications or consequences of that. I was in our office in Sarpsborg during that day. And it was very interesting to see. I've never experienced this so strongly ever during my career. But we have a second floor and third floor. So on third floor, we have our tech people. And then on the second floor, we have those that work within, customer success and sales and more the commercial roles. So we made the announcement. I made sure to walk the floor, and there was a lot of excitement on our second floor with the commercial team. They were like, "Wow, this is great and exciting. Don't know really, what does it look like and so forth." And then I walked the stairs up to the third floor, and it was a totally different story there. The feeling, these people have, invested their soul in it, and they were shocked by the news. And I will never, ever forget, one of my colleagues, one of the teams had gathered and, and I said, okay, this is tough news. How are you doing? And one of my colleagues, I'm actually getting goosebumps talking about it. And he's like, well, Eilin, I really feel that you as a top management don't have trust in us. And I'm like, oh no, this is not about having trust. This is so complex, There are so many reasons why we were where we were. So this was not about any individuals having done anything, whether it be wrong or what have you. So I think that was it touched me for one, but also giving it an understanding and context for their feelings during this process.
Yeah.
And then, people are unsure what are the consequences of this, who will be working on the new platform, who will be working on the old platform, how will we rig this, how long will we be selling both of the platforms and so forth. So, but then we are able to give more direction, clarity, having the organizational design as well. And then people are settling into it. One of the risks that we were afraid of was that people would leave us, especially those that were working on the old tech stack. But they didn't.
No, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like if you worked, I don't know, 10, 15 years. And last quarter, you're crushing it to make the new feature in a way. And then you get the information that, okay, next quarter we'll scrap and then rebuild.
So we've had one person who left the company, but he'd been there for over 10 years and he was very young. So it was, I think it's important also that you get experience as well elsewhere. So we were sad to see him leave because he was a really good guy. So again, I think, the key here is to be very strong on your why, on your purpose and invest, the time that it takes for good preparations. Don't under-evaluate, the need for preparations. And, whether it be, prepping in the leaders, thinking about, organizational design, the process itself and so forth. It's complicated. It's complex.
Did you have like a oh shit moment during that period?
Oh, did we have an oh shit moment? That's a good question. For me personally, I think it was the moment when I was standing, in the office, seeing the difference between the second and the third floor. I was thinking, oh shit, this is, what's going on, right? But I cannot really recall any oh shit moment. What is the definition of an oh shit moment?
I would say it's a bit individual, but I would say like, oh shit, what have I done? Anyway.
No.
Is this the right move?
No, we've never doubted our move. No, we have not. It's in our industry, with the tech industry, it's fast moving. Innovation is at a very high speed. The competition is fierce. So in order for us to really, stay ahead of the game, we had to do this. There was no other choice. We would be in a very different situation if we had not taken that tough but right move.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Good. So I talk to a lot of these, I talk to HR managers all the time, and seems like they're struggling with engagement. There is frustration there. Employees might not be satisfied, they might not be engaged, and they're trying a lot of stuff to make it happen. And also you have Gen Z coming into the workforce, which is also changing the game a bit. What are the common mistakes that you see that HR managers are doing to try to, maybe in panic, try to fix their engagement?
One of the things that at least my experience is that we in HR are more focused on the initiative itself rather than the outcome, right?
Yeah.
And again, if we don't have the data, how do we actually, then we are brainstorming maybe, we should do these and these and these initiatives, but we really don't know if we're hitting, the nail.
Yeah.
so that you can implement, targeted initiatives and then evaluate to see, okay, was this the right initiative? And then how again are you agile and make the necessary changes? So yes, we are doing these initiatives due to the fact that we have this data, but how does this align with our overall strategy?
Yeah.
Having the link to the company strategy. So we're doing this of the purpose of maybe drive engagement, maybe to reduce turnover, sick leave, or what have you. So I think, it's very important for my HR colleagues to raise the bar because we have a tendency to be too operational focused.
Yeah.
And if we want to be, we have the opportunity to be in the driver's seat, to have a much larger impact than what we've had so far. But then we need to start, focus on the direction, the vision, the strategy. Where do we want to go? And we need to understand the business.
Yeah, and I think that's what I see a lot with HR 2.0. That for HR and the people team to have a voice and to be able to get through to the CEO, they need to connect it to the business strategy.
They do.
But how do you do that? Like, how do you take the company strategy, boil it down to the people agenda, and also which metrics support that?
Yeah, well, I think one of the key successes for us is also the way we discuss about the company strategy within our top management team as well, and our number one strategic objective is people. I've never been in a company where we've had people as number one, and it's clearly stated in our one pager as well. So I'm very fortunate with having the leadership colleagues that I have, because we all understand the importance of business and people. And I think that's one of the key challenges that many of my colleagues out there face, is that you don't have the same buy-in within the management team, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you have that one or two person who's more focused on the numbers, or maybe having more the traditional type of leadership style and so forth. So in that sense, I acknowledge that I am very, very lucky. So we have a lot of good conversations, dialogues, and decisions within the management team, and it's not something that I'm just sitting in, at on my computer and saying that we're going to do this. And then obviously I'm using data where whatever data I have available to say that, okay, so our for the past 2 years, we see that leadership is at 88. What are the reasoning for that? Well, we've done this and that when in investing our leaders. How do we evaluate our processes as well? Well, what's the degree of success on that? And so forth. So again, we need more data, and our board as well, they're asking for data. And so I have a larger impact when I bring the data to the table.
Yeah. Build the business case on data, basically.
Yeah. So we're talking the same language, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are the metrics that you value that's important for you? Looking at 25, what does success look like? When can you take like a Christmas vacation and be on top of the world?
Well, I don't know. I think, I wouldn't say that there's just one answer to that, because, companies are different. They have different challenges. They have a different purpose and so forth. So it really needs to be up to each company need to really have that discussion. Yeah. Obviously, engagement is really important for us in Simployer. Yeah. We do look at retention as well. And then you have the typical sick leave, but it's not necessarily, the sick leave number itself. It's, can we see the cause of the sick leave? And then obviously, this is not agreed upon, Tor, but I have to say that I'm very impressed by the way you are using data in your ways of recruiting. So I'm really, really pleased to see that. When we talk about recruitment, it's not about necessarily how many applicants you have, it's the quality of the applicants, right? So I hear and I see there's a lot of discussions, are there any good KPIs in recruitment? because, and I see the challenge with that, but at least, if you have more data in the processes, whether it be recruitment or other areas, you are again able to make adjustments if that is needed quicker. Bring, I can give an example. We were doing a recruitment in Stockholm. We were losing the candidates, but do we understand why we're losing the candidates? So again, using the data to understand. Yeah.
And I think that, it corresponds to what you mentioned about like HR building the business case based on data.
Yeah.
With recruitment, obviously, what we usually do is we look at the recruitment funnel and say, okay, where's the pain point? Where's the drop off? And how can we take action on every single like leakage in the funnel? And I think that also goes with employee life cycle, basically.
Exactly.
Just looking at onboarding, and we're struggling here, learning and development, progression, etc. So,
So again, we're moving from having that gut feeling to understanding the data is, the new gold for us in order to make an impact on the business.
Yeah. You've also now launched the Purple Club, which was super exciting to see.
Yeah.
Missed that launch event, big FOMO on that. But tell us a little bit more about what the Purple Club is.
Yeah. So we had the pleasure of launching the Purple Club a couple of weeks ago. As a company, we have the opportunity to really, put the force on having a movement within people and culture, going from the operational to the strategic focus. There's a lot of great colleagues out there. So we want to gather them so that they can share best practices, so that we can challenge each other, learn from each other, and just getting that network going. So we have different challenges, but it's always, inspiring to hear, how have others solved that, and then follow up on that just to understand the details of it. So we want to create that community of like-minded people, so that we together can drive the force of lifting the bar, so that HR or people and culture is, the strategic partner out there, because that's what's needed in the going forward. So we need to be business partnering, but we are also going to be taking the role of even more than before being change agents. Yeah. So how do we do that? So
fantastic closing comments, Eilin. Thank you so much for joining the ramp.
Thanks for letting me come. It's been a joy.
Perfect. Cheers.